Hello friends, welcome and thanks so much for stopping by today. I'm especially excited today because we're going to focus on a topic that's vitally important in helping those of us with mature skin who are over 50, over 60 and beyond look our absolute best, our eyebrows. Brows are one of the most important but also the most underappreciated features on our face. They just don't get the credit they deserve for their ability to truly transform our face. Before we dive into how and what we can use to help our brows look fabulous, please let me extend a special welcome to those of you who are watching for the very first time. My name is Elise and I'm a professional working makeup artist who's passionate about helping those of us who are over 50 up our makeup game so we feel radiant rather than invisible. I heard one woman say recently, everything gets upgraded regularly. Phones, software, computers. Well, I want an upgrade too. I want to put some spice and life back in my life so I look more vibrant. So if you're over 50 and this sounds interesting to you, I hope you'll join the wonderful group of women in our family of subscribers. And if you subscribe and also hit that bell icon below the video and to the right, you'll be notified each Thursday when a new video is available. And I thank you so much in advance if you decide to do so. So without further ado, let's talk eyebrows. Now I have to say that for most of us, eyebrow products probably wouldn't be at the top of our list of favorite makeup products. I think we all have our favorite makeup categories, and as I've mentioned on previous videos, I find it hard to resist a gorgeous eyeshadow palette. And one of our subscribers, Doreen, commented in a recent video that she's a blushaholic. And by the way, hi to you, Doreen, if you're watching. But since our eyebrows are so important to how we look, and since I've recently gotten a lot of questions from a number of women about eyebrows, I thought it was important to dedicate a video to this topic. When our eyebrows are good, we usually don't notice them. We tend to look at the eyes or the lips, but rarely do we look at a woman and think, wow, she has the most gorgeous eyebrows. If her eyebrows look good, what we do notice is how her whole face looks lifted. It's what one beauty expert has called the facelift without the surgery. But if the brows are bad, we absolutely will notice them. Brows that are too bushy can look like an angry line across a face, and unkempt brows can give the impression of a dirty face, and very thin, drawn-on brows, which we've all seen, can create a very hard and severe look. And brows that are too thin almost seem to disappear and leave the eyes without the proper framing. So let's look at some before and after examples of brows from Christopher Hopkins' book, Staging Your Comeback. You'll see several examples of brows that are sparse and have been filled in, some unkempt brows that have been shaped, some bushy brows which have been tweezed, and very light brows which have been darkened. And here are a few before and after brows of women for whom I've done a makeup consultation. As we age, our brows naturally thin. As years of tweezing or waxing accumulate, the hair follicles become weaker and grow back more slowly, if at all. Even in the best situations, brow hairs can take as long as 6 weeks to grow, a lot longer than the hair on our head. The good news is that we don't have to tweeze as often. But here are a couple of tips when we do need to tweeze. First, it's far easier to tweeze just a few hairs regularly rather than go many days without tweezing, and a magnifying makeup mirror is a must. It can also be helpful to tweeze after taking a shower since the warmth of the shower softens the skin and relaxes pores, so hair can be tweezed out more easily. Another option is to press a warm washcloth directly on our brows before tweezing. And if you have quite a bit of sensitivity and pain while tweezing, consider applying Anbesol to the brows about 5 minutes before you tweeze. It's a topical toothache anesthetic which will numb the skin. And then after you finish tweezing, just rinse it off. It also makes the process easier if we tweeze the brow hairs in the direction of hair growth, and if we give our brows a bit of a break by tweezing hair from one brow and then switching to the other brow and then going back to the first brow. In addition to tweezers, there are 3 other products that we really need for our brow care: small scissors, an angled brush, and a spoolie. As we get older, those rogue hairs that grow strangely longer very quickly also need some attention, so a small scissors is a really helpful tool. It's best to brush the brows up first and then just trim a tiny bit so you don't trim too much, which is easy to do. A spoolie like this one helps us brush the brow hairs up and into their natural position. As you can see, there's an angled brush on one end, and here's the spoolie on the other end. And after applying a brow product, run the spoolie through the brows to pick up any excess product and also help the brows look more natural. If you're unsure of how to shape your brows, you might want to try a stencil kit. One that's excellent is called Senna Cosmetics Forma Brow Kit. It's really goof-proof because if you can color in a picture in a coloring book, you can have wow brows. Some of us look better with a little more or a little less eyebrow, depending on the size of our face and the shape of our eyes. Choose a stencil that's closest to your real brow shape and then line it up on the brow, using a brow powder that best matches your brow hair. And, by the way, it's better to go too light rather than too dark. Color inside the stencil, and then when you remove the stencil, you can tweeze away the hairs that aren't colored, that were outside of the stencil. And experts agree that it's absolutely a myth that you shouldn't tweeze any hair from above the brow. The other option is to have your brows professionally shaped. But since creating great eyebrows is an art, be sure to do some solid checking and get referrals. Your brows are too important to trust them to just anyone. Now let's focus on the various eyebrow products that we can use and some of the pros and cons of each of them. Since I'm going to be demonstrating, I'm going to go ahead right now and remove the eyebrow products that I'm currently wearing. You can certainly see the difference between one eyebrow that I've completed and one where I've taken off the eyebrow product. My eyebrows are very sparse, especially the brow tails, and there's certainly a few white and gray brow hairs mixed in, and quite a few wiry ones to boot, especially in the brow tail area. Isn't it absolutely amazing the different changes that can happen with our brows over the years? So I'm first going to apply a brow powder to one of my brows. Powders are quick and easy and readily available, and most come in a single container, or some, like this one that I'm going to be using from ABH, come with 2 different colors, so you can custom mix a shade, or you can use some of the lighter shade on one section of your brow and darker shade on another part. You certainly can also use eyeshadow to fill in your brows as well. If you have dark brows, you want to match your brow color or go a shade or 2 lighter. If you have very light brows, you'll most likely want to go a shade darker. And knowing where your brows should start and stop is also important. Most of you probably already know this trick, but for those of you who don't, I'll quickly demonstrate. To determine where your brows should start, take a thin pencil and put it along the outer edge of your nose and the inner corner of your eye. Where the pencil hits your brow area is where you should start your brow. So I'm going to take this Anastasia of Beverly Hills very thin brow pencil. It's their Brow Wiz pencil. And I'm going to put it along the outer edge of my nose and along the inner corner of my eye and go straight up to my brow. So that is where my brow should start. Now the trickier part is where the brow should end. That's going to be most helpful for most of us. So what you want to do is take the brow pencil once again and put it along the outer edge of your nose, the outer corner of your eye, and that's where your brow should end. Bringing the brow color lower than this point can make our eyes look droopy. And if you have very downturned eyes, you may not want to fill in your brows quite as far down. And you may also want to create a very slight upward motion at the end of the brow. Let me go ahead now and apply the powder shadow to fill in one of my brows. I'm going to use this Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow product in medium brown. What I like about the Anastasia products is it does have 2 different colors. so you can really customize the colors for your brows. I'm going to take my angled brush and use this to apply the brow powder. But first I'm going to brush up my brow hair with my spoolie. I dipped the brush into both colors and I'm just going to fill in my brow area. Now you may be able to see that the top line of my brow is rather scraggly. So what I like to do is take my eyebrow pencil and really create a pattern along the top of my brow and underneath my brow, so it looks a little more even along both the top and the bottom lines of the brow. I'm going to be using my e.l.f. brow pencil. I really like it because it has a spoolie on one end and the brow pencil on the other end. And I'm going to take it and I'm just going to go along the very top edge of my brows. Now one of the problems I have is that I have a scar in this brow, so it's really difficult for brow powder to adhere to an area where there's scar tissue. Then I'm going to use my spoolie and make it all blend in and look a little more natural. And I'm going to do the same thing along the bottom part of my brow. You can certainly see the difference between these two brows. Brow powder can give a really nice, soft, natural look, and that's one of the things I like about it the most. However, one of the downsides is that powder doesn't adhere well to bare skin. So if your brows are very sparse, you'll probably want to use a brow pencil or cream or pomade. Cream brow products are also called pomades, and both pencils and pomades adhere far better to the skin. Most makeup companies make a thin brow pencil like the one I've been using or a thicker one like this. This is an example of a thicker brow pencil, and this one's also from Anastasia Beverly Hills. As you can see, the tip is quite a bit wider. The thicker pencil can cut down on application time, but the thinner one is nice to have if you like to create the look of individual brow hairs in some parts of your eyebrow. I'm going to go ahead and use e.l.f.'s Instant Lift Brow Pencil, which is one of my absolute favorites because it glides on so easily, but it's also only $2. You can't beat that. I'm first going to go ahead and create a line along the top edge, so I'm creating a pattern for the brow. And I'm going to do that along the bottom as well. And then I'm going to start filling in with a very light hand. It's very easy to go too dark if you press too hard. And then use my spoolie to make it all blend in and look more natural. Then I'm going to use some of my brow powder to fill in a little bit more so my brows look the same. Now let's talk about how brow gel can help our brows. You can either purchase clear brow gel or tinted brow gel. The gel holds those wiry hairs in place, and if you use a tinted brow gel, often the tinted gel might just be all you need to use to fill in your whole brow. I particularly love the Almay Brow Styler because of how thin the brush is and how well it applies. So I'm going to go ahead and apply this gel on one of my brows. This is what it looks like. And here you can see how thin the applicator is. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start in the middle because this is tinted and I don't want to apply too much to the front of my brow. But then I'm going to go back as I've used some of it and go toward the front of the brow. It helps fill in the color and it also just keeps those brows in place. I especially need it in the tail of my brow area. There are lots of brow gels out on the market, and you can see how brow gel tames the hairs at the tail end of my eyebrow. And here's a quick tip. You can spray a little hairspray onto a disposable mascara wand or a spoolie, and that will also keep your brows in place. Now for pomades. They adhere well to the skin, as I mentioned earlier, and they also give a beautiful polished look to the brow. You do have to be careful, however, about how much to apply, since it's easy for creams or pomades to look overly heavy or blocky. Anastasia of Beverly Hills makes a pomade, and Benefit also makes one called Ka-Brow, but I particularly like Maybelline's Brow Tattoo Pomade. It's far less expensive and it doesn't dry out. It comes with this double-ended brush as well, with a spoolie on one end and an angled brush on the other end. Here's the Maybelline pomade, and here's the brush that it comes with. And here's the Benefit Ka-Brow. This is the smallest size. You just pull off the top and it becomes a little brush that you can use to apply your product. I really do need to go with one shade lighter with this Maybelline product, but I'm going to very lightly apply some of this brow pomade in medium brown on this eyebrow. I'm just going to dip it into the cream. I'm just going to use a tiny little bit, and I'm going to wipe it off in the top of the lid just so I have a little less product to go with. I'm going to start in the middle of the brow because I have the most product on my brush at the beginning, and then just lightly go through the rest of my brow area. And to make them even, I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit on the other brow as well. Another option is a product called Wonder Brow, which is a liquid product applied with a brush. It will last on your brows for 3 days. You don't need much at all, so it is important to wipe off the brush and use just a very small amount when you apply it. Let me show you what it looks like. It does come in several colors, and here's the brush applicator for the Wonder Brow. You do want to use just a very tiny amount, or your brows can definitely look too heavy. It's also possible to get brows tinted at a hair salon, and another interesting option is to invest in an eyebrow growth serum. There are many brands on the market, and they can be extremely effective in growing new eyebrow hair. I know some of you have heard my story about my experience with eyebrow growth serums, but since there are many of you who haven't heard me talk about this, I thought I should mention it. About a year ago, I tried an eyebrow growth serum and was absolutely thrilled with the results. My dark eyebrow hair within 6 to 8 weeks actually grew back. However, I noticed that a couple of small blood vessels in one of my eyes had broken. I didn't think much about it, but then about a week later, another one broke, and it was so loud that it actually startled me. That made me a little nervous. And since my eyes are very sensitive, and I've also had several eye operations, I thought maybe it would be a good idea to stop using the eyebrow growth serum for a while, which I did. And I didn't have any more issues with blood vessels breaking when I stopped using it. So as not to take any chances with my eyes, I did decide to discontinue using it, although it was really disappointing to do so. Now, it could have been a pure coincidence, and I've certainly known a number of other people who've tried these eyebrow growth serums without any problems whatsoever. Let me also take a moment to share a few other quick tips that might prove helpful. First, if you use a little powder to set your eyebrow pencil, it will last longer. Second, to cover those white or gray brow hairs, moisten the brow hair with brow gel or hairspray first, and then put matching brow powder or eyeshadow on top. And third, if you have gray brows, you can fill them in with either gray eyeshadow or a gray eyebrow pencil, or a taupe colored eyebrow product. Test run both of these colors to see which one you prefer. All right, we've covered a lot of ground today, and I so hope you've found this information helpful and enjoyed the video. And if so, I hope you'll also take just a second to give the video a thumbs up. When you do give a video a thumbs up, YouTube is more likely to suggest the video to other people, which can really help a channel grow. And I hope in the comments section below, you'll share your favorite brow products. Sharing product suggestions can be so helpful to other women who are on the hunt for good products. I so appreciate your being here today and sharing the gift of your time with me. Thank you so very much. And I hope you stay happy and healthy and have an absolutely fabulous rest of your day. Take care.